Welcome back to Fit for Rafting, and in this series I talk about all sorts of things about keeping yourself fit and healthy and ready to go on the river. And in today's episode I want to talk about overcoming fear. Before I talked about confronting fear, but now I want to talk about how we rise above it and also what the effects of fear are on you. But before we get into it, as always, please make sure you're subscribed, make sure you hit the bell so you're getting our updates, and I really appreciate it. So you guys are getting all our content, and I tell you so much more about the river than you ever imagined. So let's get into it today. Fear. Fear is your greatest enemy as an athlete. Fear holds you back. There's a reason fear was created, I guess you could say. It's an evolutionary response to some sort of danger, some sort of threat. When we were living in the wilds, when people were hunting and gathering, and there was a lion or a crocodile or some sort of tiger, some sort of animal that is going to attack you, or there's a cliff there and you're going to fall off of it. Fear was evolved to protect us from those things and keep us safe, keep us from doing those things that were dangerous. However, there's another response that fear has, and it holds you back from your limits. You don't want to go to the edge of your limits because at the edge of your limits is your fear. That fear keeps you from pushing forward as an athlete. Now, everybody feels fear. Anybody who doesn't feel fear is lying about it. And that's just the truth. Everyone feels fear in some way. But courage is the thing that overcomes it. And fear comes from an interesting place. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And that is a path that I can't complete the quote on because that would be a copyright violation. But you guys all know the quote. So there's a lot of truth in that. Fear does not come from a place of understanding. It is an irrational force inside you. When you feel fear, it's not, oh yes, well there's a tiger there and I know the tiger is going to eat me, or there's a big rapid there and if I go into it then bad things are going to happen, so here's what I'm going to do. No, it's like, holy shit, there's a tiger right there, it's going to eat me. That rapid is going to kill me. Fear comes from the same place that ignorance comes from. Courage is not just your ability to say, yes, I overcame my fear and I pushed it aside. That's really just cognitive dissonance. It's just pushing something out of your head. There's part of that as being an athlete and part of that being in an adventure sport. You got to have a little like, I'm going to just push this down and not think about it. That's a possibility. But if you truly want to master fear and understand fear, then you need knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You need to be armed with all of your mental faculties. And I talk about this a lot, to be prepared to take on your anxiety. If you can maintain your composure, deal with your anxiety, push off those feelings, realize that adrenaline is driving you and fear, ignorance of a certain topic. And this is the difficult part for everyone, because fear manifests in a lot of different ways. That quote, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. I've actually experienced this very week. People, when they feel fear and they lose control of their emotions, when someone loses control of their emotions, they don't have the ability to think rationally. What happens is they try to control other people's behavior because they cannot control their emotions, and thus they probably can't control their behavior. So they try to control other people's behavior. The issue with this is that you aren't coming from a place of understanding. You aren't trying to bring yourselves together, bring each other together and say, hey, wait a minute, what are we really talking about here? It's, you're wrong. I'm not going to hear it from you. This is wrong. I hate you for this. And I'm going to make your life a living hell. I'm going to make you suffer. That is not compassion. There's no compassion in that. Where there is compassion is an understanding. Taking the time to say, let me see what your viewpoint is. Okay, but before we do that, we have to recognize that fear is driving us, that we can't control our emotions. If we say, I can't control my emotions right now, okay, maybe we can take some breaths, maybe we can come back to it. But if we don't, we're not being our best selves. And this mental aspect does not keep us fit for rafting. Because if we don't have wisdom, if we don't have understanding, if we don't have knowledge, if we're not armed with those things to show us what we're missing, hey, maybe I'm afraid of that rapid because I can't paddle that hard. Okay, maybe we need to work out. Let's go work out together. Let's lift some weights. Let's go for a run. Let's go for a swim. If you don't know you can swim that rapid, and you say, ooh, no, we're not going to even talk about that. I'm not going to run that rapid. You're crazy for running that rapid. You're not going to run that rapid. Someone's trying to control you from fear. Those sorts of issues come up all the time. No, I'm not running that rapid. Okay, well, why? Do you feel like you can't swim it? Do you feel like something horrible is going to happen? I recently came to some interesting accident statistics. One of those statistics is you have about the same chance of receiving an injury to your face while swimming in the river that you do choking on food and dying while watching this video. Those are the accident statistics. And I'm going to post those in a follow-up article to this, but you're more likely actually to die driving to the put-in. I think about 5 times was the statistic that came up. 5 times more likely to die on the way to the put-in than you are in the river. If you make it to the put-in, you have a 5 times better chance of surviving the rest of the day. That's the reality of the situation when we're talking about boating. This is knowledge. These are facts. This is wisdom that we can build understanding from. We're going to lay our fears. We're not causing hatred. We're not causing suffering. Having compassion for someone else's fear, too, is critical. You got to have compassion. You got to realize that, hey, that person is afraid, and they don't recognize it. They don't recognize that as fear. They don't recognize where they're at, and they're lashing out at you because you're the one who's making those feelings bubble up. So they project it onto you. They get angry at you. This is why fear is your greatest enemy as an athlete. Fear will always be your greatest enemy as an athlete. It does not serve you to push your limits. Fear serves to hold you back from your limits so that you don't die, so that bad things don't happen. If we're more likely to die driving to a put-in than we are on the river, why aren't we afraid of driving? Why are we afraid of hopping on a boat? Why does that bring up so many fears? And I contend that it is because of lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, and lack of wisdom. So be compassionate to yourself, be compassionate to others, and try and realize when fear is affecting you and when it's affecting other people. That's all I have for today, guys. So please make sure you subscribe if you have questions or comments, or you just want to talk about your own feelings of fear and what you've experienced, or issues that have come up where you're like, I think that person is just afraid. Please drop that in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys and hear what you're experiencing out there on the river. So thanks so much, guys, and we will see you downriver.